Say go, Longhouse here. Because we're right in the middle of the coronavirus isolation period, I figured I'd take time to share with you one of the people who have literally saved my life and gave me the directional aim to which I've gone through life and survived. Because as a child, I didn't know who I was, and because I was Native American, had serious suicidal tendencies. But my mentor, Sonakawda, which means he does everything with his left hand, a lot of people knew him as Uncle Pete. Some swore by him, some swore at him. He was a local alcoholic on the reservation when I was a child, and because of my run-in with polio and leg perthes, I was not made to work out in the fields. He took me fishing very often down at the dam and on the St. Lawrence River. And I want to share with you because he is my all-time savior. Sonakawda used to take me fishing, and I'm talking about all the time. And he was always complaining that I caught the biggest fish, the best fish, the tastiest fish, and it went on forever. Well, one day he's out behind a big old pine tree watering the wildflowers, if you know what I mean. And I pulled his pole out of the water, and there was nothing on the end of the pole but a stone. There was no hook or sinker or bait. He came back and I said, Sonakawda, there's a reason you're not catching any fish. You don't have a hook on there or bait or sinker or anything. And he said, Guggy, think about it. I'm an old Indian and I drink a lot. And if the tribal police come by and see an old man next to the stream or the river or the pond or the bay drinking a beer, they'll arrest him. And it's springtime and they won't bring him to court until all the roads are fixed on the reservation, and that'll be all summer long. But if they come by here and see a young man fishing and there happens to be an old man with him, and the old man happens to be drinking a beer, they're not going to say anything. I think I was the token bait. Here, of course, is the symbol of the Haudenosaunee, the 5 original great nations. I'm Mohawk, so I always contended that the beautiful tree in the center was the Mohawks. Anyway, going back to Sonakawda, or Uncle Pete, he used to have the weirdest sayings that took me an entire lifetime to figure out what the heck he was talking about, because I always thought all these sayings were so weird that he was full of beans. And come to find out that every one of them panned out. For example, if somebody offers you something for free, always ask to see what's in his other hand. All right. Another one was, if a man has to tell you how honest or religious he is right up front, it's all right. Just make sure your holster is well oiled. He used to also say, the shortest distance between 2 points is always going to be a straight line. The longest distance between 2 points is always going to be a damn good shortcut. And one saying I have never lost track of is, because I ended up being a professional storyteller for years in the school systems and deaf and blind schools and Shriners Burned hospitals. And he always said, never goof up a good story by sticking too close to the truth. Now, here's how you tell an Iroquois Indian by just looking at them in the woods. So you start on the left, the Senecas had 1 feather up. The Cayuga had 1 feather tilted. Onondaga had 1 feather up, 1 feather tilted. The Oneida had 2 up and 1 down. The Mohawks, which is me, had 3 feathers up, and the Tuscarora came later for protection from the British and the French, and they could not wear any feathers, full feathers, or eagle feathers. They had splits, so they had hats made with splits on them. They weren't the original 5 of the Haudenosaunee that you just saw the symbol. Also note that the feathers up top rotate in the wind. So all of the feathers that are standing up rotated. And I have built headdresses twice and twice got them stolen. But it's tough to get them to rotate in the wind. But here's another saying for you from Sonakawda. A whistling woman or a crowing hen, no good for God nor men. Ooh, figure that one out. The best way to show somebody how intelligent you are is to shut up. Now, like I was saying, some people swore by Sonakawda, some swore at him. He died in a ditch, froze to death later on, but to me, he was my all-time hero. And he always told me, Guggy, inside you somewhere is a spark. And that makes you something special. So don't listen to these people. You're not just going to be another drunken Indian on the reservation. You're put here to be somebody. And understand that everyone out here has a gift that the great Creator has given them. Your job is to find that gift and then make a living doing it. Because if you do, you will never have to go to work a day in your life. So, Sonakawda, I honor you for all times. And he always used to ask me, I was about waist high, he always used to ask me, well, Guggy, what are you going to be when you grow up? And I was always making something up. I wanted to be a cowboy or an Indian or a trick roper, rider, shooter, or whatever. Anyway, one day, I turned it back on him and said, Sonakawda, what do you want to be when you grow up? And he said, Guggy, that's very easy. My only wish is that when I die, I won't be just one line in the obituaries. Somebody will remember me. And I said, Sonakawda, as long as I live, you will never be forgotten. Now, we were walking through the reservation, and at the time, very poor, single-wide trailers, wooden shacks from fishing. And we passed by a neighborhood on the reservation, absolutely gorgeous. Now, we're talking about painted wrought iron fences and gates and beautiful whitewashed houses, well-kept, manicured lawns. And I went, Sonakawda, who can afford to live in such a great place? And he said, oh, Guggy, this place is where special people live. And these people are special because they were all too busy to die. So, Sonakawda, as long as I live, you shall never be forgotten. Thank you. Ona.